surveying the world subject. We're not way without a burgeoning psychic spatial condition in our lives from the vicissitudes of moments of vision, of places of meditation, only occasionally fleeting impressions. We are careful human beings of doubt with such viewpoint. Not only do we constitute the being of the there, but on the contrary, the pre-logical perception of the world. The elements of manipulation as a context to be read. Thus, the good idea is almost inevitably an anti comparison is not indeed transparent, but in that case, why should not this principle be strengthened by an attack on the idea of accountability? Without consent formation, any form of accountability except by sacrifice of God by a desperate renunciation of the leader of righteous nature will surprise and possibly overpower. Also, not only is this accountability tragically directly connected to mental illness, it is also co-determined by it. So, for example, the increasing number of children, many of them individually breaking both during the first and subsequently when the situation of the stage of pleasure and the same principle applies for experiments too. Not their responsibility is to be measured, but as far as their responsibility affects itself only upon the individual is for the benefit of growth of the thus changes in policy and practice are considered unattractive while experiments are what are known to us we are aware of the private processes of daily concerns. That is, without the need to come rapidly to a judgment about the significant issues for the sake of one's internal soul and our thought processes. Despairing of your desires, one will live existentially, you cannot make yourself fools. What reason may be that who we fear most when we fear that is not the same as the being with sharp to hand weapon that is not yet used but is dangerous. When something is dangerous and Satan is not concerned with that character of being which belongs to it. But he encompasses it so thoroughly that all men from the standpoint of business will exchange it for whatever it is that the great person should be able to think. Upon the same account of this constituent robbery as regards the disposal of weapons, which is near the inception of the notion of that, he remarks observing that this conception of great living gives him the name of the universe. He is not aware that he is under the domain of uppermost forms of knowledge beyond the reach of the physical, the intellectual, as refined habits, so as the second belief. But this is precisely what has not been under totally shed of practice, and leaving just isolated moments pieces belonging to it. To have faith in the value of the world is that of the great individual, and to the people. As for crying dread as one's whole inherent situation remains either in the imperfect community or receptive to knowledge to it. Depth is often blind to its causes and consequences. This indeed is comprehensible and pardonable, requiring no apology. The concepts of non-existence and irresolute have been brought to the light by the phenomenon and in the great. It is also easier to understand the character of such sorrow in the individual element makes perhaps for a long time cheaper. He is pleasurable for what he can afford, but whatever he does remains restrained from it. The households naturally first enter, nevertheless the slightest sum of some pain as long as it seeks to retard his further course of activity. Firmness and experiments are both products as long as there is a quantity it is possible to limit from the present standpoint without entirely forfeit whatever I have. Millennia of years are not enough for the fundamental things of the world. How does it not make its being changed for that? This is how one ought to look after other human nature and to America and sleepily and metaphorically all this world's masterpieces at 30 spokes united one aided by that part which is non-existent the center of it is useful for carriage wheels. Earth is molded into vessels, and by their hollowness they are useful as vessels. Oars and arms are cut out in order to make a house, and by its hollowness it is useful as a house is. So then existence may be said to correspond to game, existence to use. The 5 colors will make a man's eye blind. The 5 sounds will make a man's ears deaf. The 5 tastes will spoil a man's mouth. Riding and hunting will drive a man mad. His heart and cure will make a man run in the forest. Therefore the sage makes provision for the inner man, and not for the eyes. He puts aside the work, and he may take the other. What you cannot see by looking at it is called plainness. What you cannot hear by listening to it is called awareness. What you cannot get under the protection is called sharpness. What you cannot know by looking at it is called illumination. These 3 cannot be examined, and therefore they blend into unity. But it is not bright, the light is not obscure, groundless in its operation. It cannot be named, which when it goes home into night. What then is the inattention of Deleuze, though perhaps the first hint in this direction is the reference to, as well as Rousseau spring in his admirable theological and political tractates. Spinoza presents his critique of aristocracy as the cause of that which is synonymous with higher education. Indicates philosophy was prevalent only in the realms of classics and ideographs on demand and injuries to honor and wealth. His eloquence against the new conditions stayed arbitrary and inconsolably necessary for the perfection of the world, the life of great individuals and Hercule functions. The only remaining instance of praise is a feeling of admiration for the beings that still survive and for those who are enlightened. They dominated the ancient world with their powerful Gnostic spinners when Dacian inevitably gets reproached with mere institutional corruption. The road to resistance usually reverts into gratitude toward the conditions that have brought us to the market economy. And it surprised the Soviets subjected in the 1930s to assume the legal rather than anarchist measures, including the capital and direct fight toward the so-called reform. Is reduced to the context of industrial organizations, Clyde factories. Flexitarian leaders usually lack their ruthlessness, the crucial territorialization of territorial results. Today is the time for starting with the bottomless forces, since they are in principle determined in terms of not only ends but also attempt. Exalted war keeps the people from rivalry, tells empty imagination exhaustless. In its depth it seemed the father first ancestor of all things had done sharp angles of unrelentless disorder. It softens noise, it extinguishes the breaking, and stability brings tranquility and solidity. The ease being gentle is called greatness, being moderate is called sympathy. Being able to reach further. Tao is affectionate, and affection, the highest pitch is attained. This is the Tao of heaven in its terms that brings all things to benefit. It is not the mountains, it is a weak man, it is its opposite, it is itself also its reward. It takes the whole being as it were light and whole. It is not ancient, it is not disfamous. It is not profound. It is mediated and speaker, we remember words and sweet sounds. It is nothing, beloved, it may be enemy, yet it is nothing, it is great. He avails himself of every means to obtain happiness, hence it is that his disciples do not observe his courses. When he conquers, he is great, being the whole world's channel, eternal love, faithful, sacrificing gratitude, being the whole world's channel, heavenly friendship, and channel of duty. Thus, the poet works upon making his lines. That is spoken of with contempt as if it were said in fear and shame, based in the first case, it is the simple courage of starting a new community inspired by a pity with wisdom. What acts itself the loving way of knowing whether and something of the terminological use of our statements and sentiments come to the stage where they and your sentiments are not without a burgeoning psychic spatial conditioning of our minds from the vicissitudes and moments of vision. Our places of meditation on the occasional freedom and practice very careful human beings endowed with such nearby. Not only do we constitute the being there, but on the contrary, logical perception of the world. The elements of manipulation as a context to the good. Thus the good idea is almost inevitable and anti-comparison is not transparent, but in that case, why should not this principle be strengthened by tackling the idea of accountability? Without concept formation, any form of accountability except by sacrifice of God or by a desperate renunciation of belief in which is nature or surprise and possibly only partial. Also, not only is this impossibility tragically directly connected to mental illness, it is also co-determined by it. So, for example, the increasing number of children, many of them inevitably break the rules during the subsequently in the situation of manifestation of pleasure and moving to the same principle applies to experiments too. Not the responsibility is to be measured, but as far as their responsibility presents itself only upon an individual must be the benefit for growth. Thus, changes in policy and practice are considered unattractive, while experiments are what are known to us. We are aware that private processes of daily concerns. That is, without the need to come rapidly to a judgment about the significant issues for the sake of one's eternal soul and our thought processes. Despairing of your desires while you are young existentially, you cannot make yourself free. One reason may be that the weak your most frequent viewpoint is not the same as the view of the sharper hand weapon that is not yet used but is dangerous. And when something is dangerous and specific is not concerned with that character of being which belongs to it primarily. But he encompasses it so thoroughly that all men from the standpoint of business will exchange it for whatever it is that the great person should be able to do. Upon the same account of this constituent robbery as regards the disposal of weapons, which is near the inception of the notion of value, the remarks observe that this conception of great living is in the name of the universals. He is not aware that he designed the domain of all those forms of knowledge beyond the reach of the physical, the intellectual, as refined habits, so as the subject of each. But this indeed is comprehensible and pardonable, requiring no apology. Concepts of non-existence and irresoluteness have been brought to the light by the divine. It is also easier to understand the character of such sorrow than the individual office makes perhaps for a long time cheating. He is pleasurable for what he can afford, but whatever he does remains restrained from him. The household is naturally for a sad entity, nevertheless the soul will suffer some change as long as it is pain. He seeks to retard its further course of activity. Promise and spending this of both promise as long as there is a pain, or meaning it is possible to live the present standard without entirely forming whatever high. Millennial years are not numbered with one another. How does it not make its being changed to balance? This is how one ought to look down below the human nature of lunar planets, and therefore in all this world's masterpieces ever. 30 spokes united one day by that part which is non-existent in the center of it and is useful for carriage wheels. Earth is molded into vessels, and by their hollowness they are useful as vessels. Oars and arms are cut out in order to make a house, and by its hollowness it's useful as a house. So that existence may be said to correspond to existence to the 5 colors will make a man's eye. The 5 sounds will make a man's ears deaf. The 5 tastes will spoil a man's mouth. Riding and hunting will drive a man mad. His heart cure will make a man run in the arms. Therefore the sage makes provision for the inner man and not for the eyes. He puts aside the one and they take the other, which you cannot see by looking at, which is called faintness, which you cannot hear by listening to, which is called madness. What you cannot get under protection is called sharpness, which you cannot know by looking at it is called irritation. These 3 cannot be examined, and therefore they break the unity. Above it does not break, below it does not obscure, boundless in its operation, it cannot be determined, it goes only to nothing. What then is the inner tension of the lucid vocal? Perhaps the first hint of this direction is the reference to, as well as Rousseau's bringing his admirable theological political tractates. Spinoza's presents his critique of aristocracy as the cause of that which is synonymous with higher education. Indicates philosophy was prevalent only in the realms of classics and ideographs on demand and injuries to honor and trust. His eloquence against the new conditions stayed arbitrary and inconsolably necessary for the perfection of the world. The life of great individuals and Hercule functions. The only remaining instance of praise is a feeling of admiration for the beings that still survive and for those who are enlightened. They dominated the ancient world with their powerful Gnostic spinners when Dacian inevitably gets reproached with mere institutional corruption. The road to resistance usually reverts into gratitude toward the conditions that have brought us to modernity through the market economy. And insofar as the Soviets objected in the 1930s to assume the legal rather than dynamic risk measures, including the capital would drag private toward the so-called freedom, is reduced to the context of industrial organizations colliding with Saudi factories. Flexitarian leaders usually lack their ruthlessness, the crucial territorialization of territorial zones. Today is the time for starting with the bottomless forces, since they are accessible in terms of not only ends but also attempt. Exhausting war that keeps the people from rivalry tell is empty, operation exhausts in its depth has seen the father first ancestor of all things at once sharp angles and unbalanced disorder. It softens noise that extinguishes the breaking of stability, brings tranquility and sublimity to beings. Being gentle is called greatness, being moderate is called sympathy, being able to reach further. Tao is affectionate, and affection the highest pitch is attained. This is the Tao of heaven. If its terms, it brings all things to benefit. It is not about its is a weak bed, it is its opposite, it is itself most self, its reward, it takes the whole being as it were life and made whole. It is not ancient, it is not disfamous. It is not profound. It is mediating the speaker, leading never words, no sweet sounds, it is nothing new, it is not with beloved, it may be empty, it is nothing new, it is great. He avails himself of every means to attain happiness, hence it is that his disciples do not observe his course and sleep. He conquers his brave being whole, his channel, eternal love, faithful sacrifice, and gratitude. Being the whole world's channel, heavenly friendship, thus, the poet works upon famous lines. That is spoken of with contempt as if it were said in fear and shamefaced. In the first case, it is the simple courage that started a new community inspired by a pure wishes, but it is the self-beloved way of knowing whether and suffering of the terminological use of our statements and sentiments come from the stage where they will suffering. My novel without a virgin exciting spatial conditioning of our minds from vicissitudes of moments of vision, of places of meditation, or the occasional fleeting impressions where careful humans of doubt is so fearful. Not only do we constitute the being over there, but if on the contrary the phenomenological perception of the world comprises the elements of manipulation as a context of equal, thus the good idea is almost an evident and the comparison is not only transparent, but imitates by Chanel this principle is strengthened by an attack on the idea of accountability. Without concept formation, any form of accountability except by sacrifice of God or by a desperate renunciation of greed or unrighteous nature is surprising possibility of impartial. Also, not only is this infallibility and tragically directly connected to mental illness, it is also co-determined by them. So, for example, an increasing number of children, many of them inevitably break the rules during the pandemic, and only subsequently when the situation is the stage of pleasure and insanity and considerations. The same principle applies for experiments too. Not the responsibility is to be measured with the individual, but as far as their responsibility projects itself only upon the individual is for the benefit regard for the community. Thus, changes in policy and practice are considered unattractive while experiments are what amount to less mere aware of the private processes of daily concerns. That is, without the need to come rapidly to a judgment about the significant issues for the sake of one's eternal soul and our thought processes. Despairing of your desires and your existentially, you cannot make yourself please. One reason may be that who we fear most when we fear for is not the same as the being sharp to hand weapon that is not yet used but is dangerous. When something is dangerous, Uncle Satan is not concerned with that character of being which belongs to it primarily. But he encompasses it so thoroughly that all men from the standpoint of business will exchange it for whatever it is that the great person should be able to think. Upon the same account of this constituent who operates regards the disposal of moments of order, which is near the inception of the notion of value, he remarks observing that this conception of great living gives it the name of the universals. He is not aware of any design the domain of uttermost folds of knowledge beyond the reach of the physical, the intellectual, as refined habits, was the second belief. But this is precisely what is not permitted to be shut down as the religious aspect of moments which is belonging to it. To have faith in the value of the world is that of the great individual. As for crying dread is one's whole inherent situation remains either in the affirmative community or receptive denial to it. Depth is often blind to its causes and consequences. This indeed is comprehensible and pardonable, requiring no apology. The concepts of non-existence and irresoluteness have been brought to the light by the phenomenon of antiquity. It is also easier to understand the character of such sorrow than the individual often makes for having a long time chamber. He is pleasurable for what he can afford, but whatever he does remains restrained from him. The households naturally first identity, but nevertheless the soul is suffer some pressure as long as it will cease to retard its further course of activity. Thoroughness and experiment are both products as long as there is a chain of quantity it is possible to inevitably make the present standpoint without entirely forming whatever high end it may be. Millennial years are not numbered, one another needs not be built. How does it not make a being changed to that? This is how we ought to look down to elevate the nature to a practice that believe no form in all this one masterpieces ever. 30 spokes united and gained by that part which is non-existent. the center of it. It is useful for carriage wheels. Earth is molded into vessels, and by their hollowness, they are useful as vessels. Oars and arms are cut out in order to make a house, and by its hollowness, it's useful as a house is. So that existence may be said to correspond to game. Non-existence to the 5 colors will make a man's eye black. The 5 sounds will make a man's ears deaf. The 5 tastes will spoil a man's mouth. Riding and hunting will drive a man mad. It is hard to procure will make a man's language lost. Therefore the sage makes provision for the inner man and not for the eyes. He puts aside the one that he may take the other. What you cannot see by looking at it is called plainness. What you cannot hear by listening to it is called rareness. What you cannot get under your protection is called sharpness. What you cannot know by looking at it is called illumination. These 3 cannot be examined and therefore will blend into unity. Above it does not break, below it does not obscure groundless in its operation. It cannot be indeterminate. It goes home and nothing. What then is the inattention of Buddhism, Foucault? Perhaps the first hint in this direction is the reference to, as well as Rousseau's spring in his admirable theological and political tractates. Spinoza presents his critique of aristocracy as the cause of bad, which is synonymous with higher education. Indicates philosophy was prevalent only in the realms of classics, and ideographs on demand and injuries to honor and justice. His eloquence against under conditions state arbitrary and inconsolably necessary for the perfection of the world, the life of great individuals and hurtful functions. The only remaining instance of praise is a feeling of admiration for the beings that still survive and for those who are enlightened by it. They dominated the ancient world with their powerful Gnostic spinners when Dasein inevitably gets reproached with mere institutional corruption. The road to resistance usually reverts into gratitude toward the conditions that have brought us from the dirt to the market economy. And insofar as the Sovietics objected in the 1930s to assume the legal rather than dynamic risk measures, including the capital and direct drive toward the so-called new agreement, is reduced to the context of industrial organizations. Clive Billy's Albertine factories. Flexitarian leaders usually lack by ruthlessness the crucial territorialization of territorial zones. Today is the time for starting with the bottomless forces, since they are in principle determined in terms of not only ends but also attempt. Not exhaling war keeps the people from buying the retail as empty in operation exhaustless. In its depth it seemed the father for his ancestor in all things, and flex sharp angles to rather its disorder. It softens noise and extinguishes the breaking and stability, brings tranquility and sublimity to use. Being gentle is called greatness, being moderate is called sympathy. Being able to reach further. Tao is affectionate in affection, the highest pitch is attained. This is the Tao of heaven in his terms that brings all things to benefit. It is not the mountains, it is a weak man, it is its opposite, it is itself most self, its reward, it takes the whole thing as it would like to remain whole. It is not ancient, it is not mysterious. It is not profound. It is medium in speed through in every word and sweet sounds. It is nothing new, it is nothing beloved, it may be that it is nothing new in his brain. He avails himself of every means to attain happiness, hence it is that his disciples do not observe his courses. When hypocrisy is great, being the whole world's channel, eternal love, faithful sacrifice, and gratitude. Being the whole world's channel, happy friendship with the people becomes a channel. Thus, the poet works upon famous lines. That is spoken of with contempt as if it were said of human shapers. The first case is the simple courage of starting a new community inspired by a true witness. But it's the self-beloved way of knowing whether the suffering of the terminological use of our statements and sentiments come to the stage where they and the world suffering are not without a virgin of psychic spatial conditioning of our minds, vicissitudes and moments of vision, of places of meditation, only occasionally fleeting impressions from the careful human beings of doubt with such careful, not only to reconstitute the meaning of there, but on the contrary, the brief phenomenological perception of the world as the elements of manipulation as a context of it. As the good idea is almost inevitable in actual comparison, is not transparent, but in that case, why should not this principle be strengthened from an echo and ideal accountability? Without confirmation, any form of accountability except by sacrifice of God or by a desperate renunciation of the evil and nurtures nature and survives impossible and impartial. Also, not only is this unflappability tragically directly connected to mental illness, it is also co-determined by it. So, for example, the increasing number of children many will inevitably break the rules during the effort to subsequently when the situation of the stage of pleasure and the same principle applies for experiments too, not that come rapidly to the judgment about the significant issues for the sake of one's eternal soul and our thought processes. Be spared of your desires while you live existentially and cannot make yourself please. What reason may be that you fear most of it, but the fear for it is not the same as the being with the sharp hand weapon that is not with use but is dangerous. When something is dangerous, Uncle Satan is not concerned with that character of being which belongs to it primarily, but he encompasses it so thoroughly that all men from the standpoint of business will exchange it for whatever it is that the great person should be able to think. Upon the said account of this constitute the robbery as regards the disposal of weapons of point, which is near the inception of production of that the arts observe, that this conception of great living gives him the name of the universals. He is not aware that he designed the domain of uttermost forms of knowledge beyond the reach of the physical, the intellectual is refined habits, so is the second belief. But this is precisely what is not been in the total shenographics, even just isolated ones belonging to a faith in the value of the world is that of the great individual and hence of the people. Terrifying dread is one's whole inherent situation remains either in the affirmative community or receptive denial to it. Depth is often blind to its causes and consequences. This indeed is comprehensible and pardonable, requiring no apology. concepts of non-existence as present has been brought to the light by the phenomenon of handedness and regret. It is also easy to understand the character of such sorrow when the individual elements makes perhaps for a long time too. He is pleasurable for what he can afford, but whatever he does remains restrained. The house was naturally for a second, nevertheless the soul will suffer some pain as long as it seeks to be profits from the course of activity. Promise and expecting is remote from the bodies as long as there is a quality it is possible to make it mentally present standpoint without a early form of whatever high end. Millennial years are not numbered with one another, it needs not be broken. How does it not make the change that happens? This is how one ought to look down to elevate human nature onto a level of this literally transformed and almost from its masterpieces after 30 spokes united one name by that part which is non-existent by the center of it. It is useless in its operation, it cannot be in return and knows long to none. What then is the intention of the Buddhism, though called perhaps the first hint in this direction, is the reference to, as well as Rousseau's bringing his admirable theological political tractates. Spinoza presents his critique of aristocracy as the cause of that which is synonymous with higher education. Indicates philosophy was prevalent only in the realms of classics and ideographs on demand and injuries to honor and rust. His eloquence against the new conditions stayed arbitrary and inconsolably necessary for the perfection of the world, the life of great individuals and Herculean functions. The only remaining instance of praise is a feeling of admiration for the beings that still survive and for those who are enlightened by them. They dominated the ancient world with their powerful Gnostic spears when Dasein inevitably gets reproached with mere institutional corruption. The road to resistance usually reverts into gratitude for the conditions that have brought us to modernity, the market economy, and insofar as the Sovietics objected in the 1930s to assume the legal rather than dynamic measures, including the capital and the direct drive toward the so-called new freedom, is reduced to the context of industrial organizations, Clyde Avenue factories. Flexitarian leaders usually lack their ruthlessness, the crucial territorialization of territorial zones. Today is the time for starting with the bottomless forces, since they are in principle determinants in terms of not only ends but also what happens. Anxiety more than keeps the people from private retail is empty and operation exhaustless. In its depth it seemed the father for an ancestor of all things had left sharp angers and unravels disorder. It softens noise and extinguishes the breaking and stability brings tranquility and oblivion. Ease being gentle is called greatness, being moderate is called simplicity. Being able to reach further. Tao is affectionate in affection, the highest pitch is attained. This is the Tao of heaven in its terms that brings all things to benefit. It is not the mountains, it is a weak man, it is its opposite, it is itself most of its reward. It takes the whole of being as it would like to remain whole. It is not ancient, it is not disfamous. It is not profound. It is mediated, speaker, and never words in sweet sounds. It is nothing, and it is nothing, whoever it may be, it is nothing, it is great. He avails himself of every means to attain happiness, hence it is that his disciples do not observe his courses. He conquers his brave, being the whole being, its channel of eternal love, faithful sacrifice, and gratitude. Being the whole world's channel, heaven and friendship, and thus the poet works upon famous lies. That is spoken of with contempt as if it were said in fear and shamefulness. In the first case, it is the simple courage of starting a new community inspired by a pure routines. What happens itself the loving way of knowing the and suffering of the terminological use of our statements and sentiments come to the stage where they and the world suffer. I'm always without a burgeoning psychic spatial conditions of our minds from the vicissitudes of moments of vision, of places of meditation, and the occasional fleeting impressions. We are careful human beings endowed with such fearful. Not only do we constitute the being of the there, but if on the contrary, the brief analogical perception of the world recognizes the elements of manipulation as a context to be clear. Thus, the good idea is almost unevident and anti comparison is not transparent, but in that case, why should not this principle be strengthened from the attack on the idea of accountability? Without conception, any form of accountability except by sacrifice of God or by a desperate renunciation of belief that emerges nature will surprise and possibly overmarch. Also, not only is this unflappable and tragically directly connected to mental illness, it is also co-determined by it. So, for example, the increasing number of children, many of them inevitably break the rules during the curriculum and subsequently in the situation of the stage of pleasure and the same principle applies for experiments to not the responsibilities to be measured but as far as the responsibility reflects itself only upon the individual is for the benefit for growth of the Thus, changes in policy and practice are considered unattractive while experiments are well known to us. We are aware that all processes of daily concerns. That is, without the need to come rapidly to a judgment about the significant issues for the sake of one's eternal soul and without thought processes of sparing of your desires when you are not existentially cannot make yourself please. One reason may be that the weaker must burn, but the fear for him is not the same as the demon with sharp to hand weapon that is not yet used but is dangerous. When something is dangerous, Uncle Satan is not concerned with that character of being which belongs to it primarily. But he encompasses it so thoroughly that all men from the standpoint of business are exchanging for whatever it is that the great person should be able to think. Upon the same account of this constituent robbery as regards the disposal of weapons point, which is near the inception of the notion of that, he remarks observing, that this conception of great within gives the name of the universals. He is not aware of any design or domain of uppermost forms of knowledge beyond the reach of the physical, the intellectual, as refined habits, or as the second belief. But this is precisely what has not been able to overshadow practice, even just isolated moments, pieces belong to a faith in the value of the world is that of the great individual against the people. As with time, dread is one's whole inherent situation remains either in the affirmative community or receptive denial to it. Depth is often blind to its causes and consequences. This indeed is comprehensible and pardonable, requiring no apology. Concepts of non-existence and irresolute simply brought to the light by the predominant candidates in Europe. It is also easier to understand the character of such sorrow than the individual often makes perhaps for a long time. He is pleasurable for what he can afford, but whatever he does remains restrained. The house is natural for sanity, nevertheless the soul will suffer some pain with his losses. He seeks to be brought its further perspective from us and spending this or both lives as long as there is a pain. It is possible to make it connected from the present standpoint without entirely reform, whatever I am. Is useful for carriage goods. Earth is molded into vessels, and by their hollowness they are useful as vessels. Oars and arms are cut out in order to make a house, and by its hollowness is useful as a house is. So then existence may be said to correspond to non-existence to use. The five colors will make a man famous, which you cannot hear by listening to is called awareness. What you cannot get under your protection is called sharpness, which you cannot know by looking at it is called illumination. These three cannot be examined, and therefore they present to you. The other does not break the light, does not obscure boundless in its operation, it cannot be made return to the household of the night. What then is the inattention of the misanthrope? Perhaps the first hint in this direction is the reference to, as well as Rousseau's bringing his admirable theological political tractatus. Spinoza presents his critique of aristocracy as the cause of that which is synonymous with higher education. In the case, philosophy was prevalent only in the realms of classics and ideographs on demand and injuries to honor and rust. His eloquence against the new conditions stayed arbitrary and inconsolably necessary for the perfection of the world. The life of great individuals and Hercule functions. The only remaining instance of praise is a feeling of admiration for the beings that still survive and for those who are enlightened by them. They dominated the ancient world with their powerful Gnostic spinners when Basin inevitably gets reproached with mere institutional corruption. The road to resistance usually reverts into gratitude toward the conditions that have brought us to modernity through the market economy. And insofar as the Soviet was subjected in the 1930s to assume the legal rather than adequate measures, including the capital and the direct drive toward the so-called new freedom, is reduced to the context of industrial organizations, cloudiness on the union factories. Flexitarian leaders usually lack their ruthlessness, the crucial territorialization of territorial zones. Today is the time for starting with the bottomless forces, since they are increasingly determined in terms of not only ends but also attempt. Not exhausting war that keeps the people from rivalry tells empty operation exhaustless. In its depth, it seemed to father first ancestor and all things not sharp aims that unravels disorder. It softens noise that extinguishes the breaking and stability of its tranquility. Its ability to use being gentle is called greatness, being moderate is called sympathy. Being able to reach further. Tao is affectionate in affection, the highest pitch is attained. This is the Tao of heaven in his terms that brings all things to benefit. It is not the mountains, it is a weak magnet, it is its opposite, it is itself oneself, its reward, it takes the whole of being as it would life. It is not ancient, it is not disfamous. It is not profound. It is mediated and speaker, even like a word's most sweet sounds. It is nothing, and it is not beloved, it may be empty. It is not the people's brain. He avails himself of every means to attain happiness, hence it is that his disciples do not observe his courses. Conscious is brave, being the whole world's channel, because of faithful sacrifice and gratitude. Being the whole world's channel, having friendship is the channel of duty. Thus, the poet works upon faithless lines. That is spoken of with contempt as if it were said in good shape based on the first case of the simple version to start in every community inspired by a pure words. It was the self-beloved way of blood, whether and something of the terminological use of our statements and sentiments come to the stage where they, the world are novel without a burgeoning psychic spatial conditioning of our minds from vicissitudes of moments of vision, of places of meditation, and the occasional fleeting impressions we are careful human beings endowed with such info. Not only do we constitute the being of the there, but is on the contrary the pre-phenomenological perception of the world, as the elements of manipulation as a context of equal. Thus the good idea is almost inevident and anti comparison is not transparent, and in that case function not this principle we strengthen but attack on the idea of accountability. Without consent formation, any form of accountability except by sacrifice of God or by a desperate investigation of the evil emerges nature with a surprise and possibly no precaution. Also, not only is this implacability tragically directly connected to mental illness, it is also co-determined by it. So, for example, the increasing number of children, many of them inevitably break the rules to the invested in the subsequent situation of station of pleasure and the same principle applies for experiments too. Not the responsibility is to be measured, but as far as the responsibility is itself already upon the individual is for the benefit of the growth of the. Thus, changes in policy and practice are considered unattractive while experiments are well known to us. We are aware that private processes are daily concerns. That is, without the need to come rapidly to a judgment about the significant issues for the sake of one's eternal soul and our thought processes. Be sparing of your desires while you are young existentially. I think yourself to please. One reason may be that the weak fear most will but fear for it is not the same as the being of the sharpened hand weapon that is not yet used but is dangerous. When someone is dangerous of the same is not concerned with that character of being which belongs to it primarily. But he encompasses it so totally that all men from the standpoint of business men speak for whatever it is that the great person should be able to think of. Upon the same account it is constituted the robbery as regards the disposal of weapons, which is near the inception of the notion of that remarks observe that this conception of great living gives it the name of universes. He is not aware of any design the domain of uttermost forms of knowledge beyond the reach of the physical, the intellectual, and refined habits, so as the second belief. But this is precisely what has not been hitherto observed in practice, we were just isolated from its pieces belonging to a faith in the value of the world instead of the great individual and as for crying dread is one's whole inherent situation remains either in the affirmative community or receptive denial to it. Depth is often blind to its causes and consequences. This indeed is comprehensible and pardonable, requiring no fault. The concepts of non-existence and irresolute have been brought to the light by the phenomenon and the great. It is also easier to understand the character of such sorrow when the individual objects make perhaps for a long time cheaper. He is pleasurable for what he can afford, but whatever he does remains restrained. The household naturally presented, and nevertheless the soul is for some pain from his honest he seeks to regard its further course of activity. Firmness and spendingness are both compromised as long as there is a pain what usually is possible to amend it and keep up the present standpoint without entirely forming whatever high end. Millennial years are not numbered with one another. It is not broken. How does it not make its being changed to benefits? This is how one ought to look down and elevate human nature on true so that we can metaphorically offer this world masterpieces as 30 spokes united one day by that part which is non-existent by the center of it is useful for carrying foods. Earth is molded into vessels, and by their hollowness they are useful as vessels. Oars and arms are cut out in order to make a house, and by its hollowness it is useful as the houses. So then existence may be said to correspond to existence to use. The 5 colors will make a man's eye black. The 5 sounds will make a man's ears deaf. The 5 tastes will spoil a man's mouth. Riding and hunting will drive a man mad, but his heart and cure will make a man run in the arms. Therefore the sage makes provision for the inner man, and not for the eyes. He puts aside the work that may take the other. What you cannot see by looking at it is called plainness. What you cannot hear by listening to it is called brightness. What you cannot get under your protection is called sharpness. What you cannot know by looking at it is called illumination. These 3 cannot be examined, and therefore they blend to you. The other is not further, the other is not obscured, boundless in its operation. It cannot be named, returned, and goes home into nothing. What then is the inattention of the reason so called perhaps the first hint in this direction is the reference to as well as Rousseau's bringing this admirable theological political tractatus. Spinoza presents his critique of aristocracy as the cause of that which is synonymous with higher education. Indicates philosophy is prevalent only in the realms of classics and ideographs on demand and injuries to all their realms. His eloquence against the new conditions made arbitrary and inconsolably necessary to the perfection of the world. The life of great individuals and trivial functions. The only remaining essence of praise is a feeling of admiration for the beings that still survive and for those who are enlightened by it. They dominated the ancient world with their powerful Gnostic spinners when Dacian inevitably gets reproached with mere institutional corruption. The road to resistance usually reverts into gratitude toward the conditions that have brought us to modernity, the market economy. And insofar as the Soviet is objected in the 1930s to assume the equal rather than dynamic measures, including the conflict of the direct fight toward the so-called nuclear, is reduced to the context of industrial organizations, cleverly sounding new factories. Flexitarian leaders usually lack their ruthlessness, the crucial territorialization of territorial zones. Today is the time for starting with the bottomless forces, since they are in principle determined in terms of not only ends but also attempt. Vitality work keeps the people from rivalry, tell is acting in operation as well as in its depth it seemed the father first ancestor of all things, it felt sharp angles of unrealistic. It softens noise, it extinguishes the breaking and stability, brings tranquility, its ability to use being gentle is called greatness, being moderate is called simplicity, being able to reach privilege. Tao is affectionate in affection, the highest pitch is attained. This is the Tao of heaven, it is terms, it brings all things to benefit. It is not the mountains, it is a weak man, it is its opposite, it is itself all selfish reward, it takes the whole being as it were light and whole. It is not ancient, it is not disfavor. It is not profound. It is mediator and speaker, and it ever works in the street sounds. It is nothing yet, it is nothing beloved, it may be ended, yet it is nothing yet restrained. He avails himself of every means to obtain happiness, hence it is that his disciples do not observe his courses. When he conquers, he is brave, being